coming from the island, is you only could be a doctor, accountant, or, you know what I mean, a nurse or something that they look forward on. So just speak on that pressure and what you're going to school to major in and all that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I majored in arts and crafts. I just playing. No.
Like,
I imagine. No. Moms isn't going for that. No.
Just get us familiar with you, man. So where you from? You from the Bahamas? Like, you from Nassau? You from the island? Like, where you from?
Yeah, man. No, so I'm from Nassau, raised in Nassau, and went to SAC. That's how we linked up. And then after that, I went to Kingsway. And then once I graduated high school, I moved to the States at first to play tennis for a bit. And then after that, I went to college, got an athletic scholarship to go to college.
You went to the States for high school too, or straight after high school, you went to the States for college or to play tennis, or it was just straight tennis?
Yeah, so at first it was just straight tennis. But then after a while, I realized that, college would have been a good opportunity for me, especially like utilizing the sport to get like a free education. So after I had graduated high school, I had moved to the States, did tennis for about a year. And then after that, went on to college in the States off the athletic scholarship.
So you was pro like tennis, or you just was like practicing to like go pro? Like, I don't understand. That's why
Yeah, absolutely. So I was pursuing, trying to go, pro, but, it was really competitive for me. And, starting late, I just realized that the more realistic option for me would have been to go the college route, the college athlete route, and then see where I would have landed afterwards. And it just so happened that after like the college tenure, I figured that I would want to get into business instead. But it was a great journey. So it was about a year of training and traveling and like competing at events. And then after that, getting picked up by a D2 school called Stillman College in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. So that's how I ended up in Alabama.
Oh, that's how you get in Alabama. Okay, so just talk before we get into like your college journey. Just talk about like the mindset. Us coming from the island and stuff, and all us have like track dreams, hoop dreams, things like that. But we don't really know how hard it is once you leave the rock, because you may dominate on the rock, but once you go to US, like the talent pool is like vast. And so just talk about like from the mental aspect, like, man, you're going up there, like, okay, going pro, but then you actually see how hard it is. And then reality, like, set it, not to say that you couldn't make it, but the journey to make it, and you starting out late, you know what I mean? So just talk about that aspect, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So definitely being from like a small country where, a lot of us are, aspiring, to do out of the ordinary things, that's how we grew up, right? Like,
that's real.
You can achieve, anything, which is true, right? But basically, coming from the mindset of, being competitive, like in the Bahamas to go into the States, for me, especially starting late, I realized that, it may be a more, realistic route for me to go to college. So, it's just, I guess for me personally, it was like competing and realizing where I stacked up against like people that had started before me, and just having common sense and being like, oh, okay, if these guys who've been doing this from they was 6 years old, having struggles like going pro and getting paid like a professional athlete, like for me, my odds kind of stacked up against me. And it's just like, being an athlete is expensive, especially when you in tennis. So it's like
expensive.
Yeah, like traveling, equipment, all that stuff is like costing money.
Injuries, all that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. So costing money. So I was just like, you know what? I have this opportunity where like multiple people offer me a full ride to go to college. Might as well take it. So for me, really good decision. I'm happy I made it, that decision. And man, that's how it started.
So now you get your college offers now. So you say you ended up in Alabama. Was there any other school that could have got you or that you were leaning more towards? Because Alabama kind of like far from the farm and all that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You know what? The school I went to in Alabama was the only one that offered, the full ride.
Oh yeah, you need that.
Yeah. I I was getting scholarship offers, buddy, but like they was just like, you know what, we really want you. We have some people from the islands already here, like at the school. So it's folks from Trinity. It was one person, I think it was one person that had graduated that was from the Bahamas. It was folks from Jamaica, Guyana. So it was like a nice Caribbean population. So, once I had like did my research in the school, I felt pretty good about it.
So what school was it? Was it Alabama?
No, so it's called Stillman College. So it ain't really that popular, but if you think about schools like Morehouse, Tuskegee, Clark, Atlanta, like it's in that same conference. It's called the SIAC conference. Okay. So it was a school within that, yeah.
All right, man. So now you're going to school now. So you switching from the tennis route to the school route now. So what are you going to school to major in? Because now parents like, okay, now I know that parents pressure on you now. Eddie, you're going to school now. What you going to major in? You need to major in something that gonna make sense. Coming from the island, it's you only could be a doctor, accountant, or a nurse or something that they look forward on. So just speak on that pressure and what you're going to school to major in and all that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I majored in arts and crafts. I just playing. No. I no. Mom's isn't going for that. No. I went business administration with a concentration in accounting. So I just went with like a safe major, and did really well. I graduated second in my class in that.
Oh, congrats, bro.
Thank you. But like, I was really active, being student athlete, also working a part-time job while in school. And then as well as like getting into real estate. So my junior year is really when I got introduced to the real estate space, and it just kind of like took off from there. So I was, making workouts, competing as a college athlete, then working a part-time job. On top of that, interning for free with a real estate investment company. So I was living off of like 3 hours of sleep and like coffee, like for 2 years. It was brutal. Yeah.
No, but that's like the side note, like that's how the grind is like where you make it from, because that's really how you like pinpoint what you're trying to do. But anyway, you said in your junior year you found out real. So how did that come about? Like you doing business administration and you doing accounting. So then how does real estate, like what caused you to switch into that lane? Okay, I want to do real estate.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, well, I'll just go back a little bit. Like, so my family back home, they own some small rental properties growing up. Okay, so me and my cousin Ryan, we was involved in that as kids growing up, like just seeing that. So from there, that kind of like was, what they call it, like that planted the seed, right? So I saw like that was like a good alternative investment strategy, right? So now fast forward back in school, I literally just saw like an ad on Facebook where it was like free real estate training. And it was at a local hotel that was like maybe about 5 minutes away from my college. So I was like, you know what, hey, let me just go ahead and check this thing out. And after going to that meeting, and then getting the 3-day training afterwards, like that's when I got it ignited. Like I was like, okay, this is something I could really see myself doing for the next 20, 30, 40 years. Because, even though I was good at accounting and everything, I didn't really see myself doing that, for 20, 30, 40 years.
Because it's boring desk job.
Yes, exactly. So actually, it's just funny story, is this specific class called computerized accounting where I'm just doing, just behind the computer, like crunching numbers, bro, doing QuickBooks accounting. And I asked my professor, I was like, you know what, hey, like, is this going to be how it is? Like, if I choose this as a profession? And he was like, yeah, that's how it's going to be, but it's job security and this and the next. But I tuned out after that. Like, he was like, yeah, this is how it's going to have to be.
But once you had a butt, you're like, yeah, man.
No, it's over with. So I was like, yo, I got to find something else, and then that's what led me to the real estate space. And this was back in like 2016.
So you've been in the real estate space now for about 6 years?
Yeah, active. Yeah, I bought and sold my first properties in 2017, and then from there got into like larger apartment complexes. So yeah, full time, since 2017, and it ain't came with like its challenges. Like it's been full time, but then also think about like growing a business from the ground up. It ain't like you out and you just splurging and you buying designer, you just taking all these strips.
Trust me, I know.
You get what I'm saying? So that's really what it is still today,
It's still the grind, man. So just explain to us, man. So let's get into that, man. So what is real estate investing like? as a, like, what is it in general, you know?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So basically, when you think about, stock investing or bonds or, any like traditional investments like that, think about that same concept, but think about instead of investing that money in a stock, investing that in a building, right? And instead of like a company paying you a dividend, your dividend is getting paid from collecting the rents and the cash flow that's made on the property, after paying the expenses, that cash flow is your dividend. So, just high level, like that's really what it is in essence. It's the same thing as like a retirement plan or, investing in stocks or bonds. But just think about instead of it being in a company or like this large fund, you actually putting that money to work in a building, in a specific building. So really what real estate investing is. And then from there, you could determine what asset class you're most interested in. So it could be single family homes, it could be apartment complexes, hotels, you can really divvy up, but the concept is the same.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. So like the type of investments, would you just explain it? So you're saying either a hotel, like a single family home, or like more of like an apartment
complex.
So
Yeah.
how does one determine what they want to invest in? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So usually people start with I would say, methods that don't have a high barrier to entry. So a lot of times that's single family homes or small multifamily apartments.
Why is
Those
that?
are
Because of
usually,
money or like?
yeah, because of money, because it's a little bit more affordable to get into a apartment deal or a single family home than it is to get into like a hotel development, or a large like a commercial development. Usually with the residential, you can get into it from anywhere from $15,000 to around like $50,000 is like your entry point as far as like an investment is concerned. So that's where a lot of people start, unless they're like they already have someone in their family or someone that they know that's already an established developer, like a hotel developer or commercial developer, and they're just coming in and doing passive investments with them. But usually if someone is going out to do it themselves and they be the operator, collecting rents, managing the building, they usually would start with like single family or apartments.
All right. So just like someone, like I said, you say two things. I wanted to ask two questions, but like, I want to see how tedious it is. Like, so someone like me wanting to start to be an investor, how tedious is it to run a single family home or even an apartment complex? If I'm like the one operated, like I have to find plumbing, find just different things. And you could even speak on the different utilities that someone would have to keep in mind as well. But how taxing is that for just one person to do?
Yeah, it's definitely challenging, especially depending on what your main job is, or like so for people that may not have like a lot of free time, during the week, maybe their weekends is now tied up, right? So you have to take that in consideration. So a lot of times, some people would either try to do it that way, where they work on weekends or just work around the clock. And then other people would reach out to folks that do investments like me and partner up and do a passive investment. So I would say like it just depends on the individual and kind of like what they want their first couple of deals to look like. Would it be partnering with like a larger, more established like real estate investor, or would it be wanting to kind of grassroots it and go and do your first deal yourself? But each way is possible. Like I started with ladder, so I started with a duplex and then a 4-unit, and then I scaled up to like larger apartments with partnerships with other individuals. So yeah, I mean, you could do any which one. You just have to figure out which one you want to do, if that makes sense.
So the passive is when you're like partnering with someone larger who know what they're doing and have more connections.
Correct. Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you ain't doing it yourself, you want to partner with someone that is already doing something that you aspire to do. That's just my school of thought with it. Like, you never really want to partner down. So, like, if you trying to get in large apartments, but you partner with someone and both of y'all ain't never like bought an apartment complex, that's a problem. Like, you want to partner with someone that's done it before, right? Because that's where you're trying to go. So, and that's if you want to do the passive investment or partnership route. And if you want to do things on your own, most people, once you buying something at the right price point and a good location, home or a small apartment, is really hard to mess up to the point to where you just lose your investment. Once you buying it at the right price, you upkeeping the property, you steadily increasing rents year over year. Once you're doing those things, the property is going to appreciate. It's just a matter of that timeline. Like real estate is a long game. So, excuse me, you ain't really looking at like 2 years and then, your property worth another $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 really. Usually it's like 5 years before you really start seeing numbers like that, right? So real estate is more like a long-term investment strategy, unless you're doing like fix and flipping and stuff. But we really talking about like buying whole rental investments. That's what my focus is.
Okay. So that's the long game. So someone who trying to just get in the fix quick and flip, you don't think that would be a good long-term investment? You think just holding it for the longer term you would have a better return on your money?
Well, a good school of thought, what I've been taught just from mentors is, like when you're talking about apartment investment or being a landlord or investing in rental properties, is not really a get rich quick game. It's a get rich for sure game. You are going to get wealthy. It takes a longer period of time, right? Now, when you start getting into, more aggressive investments like fix and flipping, it's more contingent on what the market is doing, right? So with a rental property, you can increase your rents and in turn increase the value of your property. But if you're just fix and flipping, your value or your profit is based off of what properties in the area are selling for. So what if you hit a recession that, something that is looking like it's happening in the real estate market now in the States? It's looking like it's going to hit a recession pretty soon. So what if you hit that recession, but you were fixing flipping properties now, right? If you were basing your profit on the real estate market continuing to go up, now you have a problem, because now you may be in a downturn. So that $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 profit you were banking on, now that may be down to $20,000 or $15,000 or maybe break even. So when you're dealing with fix and flipping properties, you run into that problem. Versus like the rentals, your value is based on what they call an income approach. So the amount of revenue that the business makes or the property makes, that's what your value is based off of. So from increasing my rents $20, $30, $40 a year, the value of my property is increasing year over year. And the larger your property you buy, the more they lean on these metrics of income and not what properties are selling for in the area. Is that making sense?
Yeah, that's definitely sense. That's how like people do crypto. Some people flip it, and then that's how it went into my mind like that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. So I wanted to still talk on like the passive standpoint, because I want to talk about someone like new in the game. So someone like me who might be like broke as hell, you know what I mean? So now I get like an investment. I have like a single, or I want to start just with a single home or single. How would someone like me with no money, like what are the 3 steps I would take in just owning, like say, my first property? Like, do you have any, like just 3 simple steps you think anyone in my position with no money could take to start to try to own just one home?
Yeah, absolutely. So depending on what market you're in, right? So if you're in the U.S. market, or
let's say the U.S. market,
U.S. market, right? So if you in the U.S. market, a good is 2 ways you can get into deals, like kind of like with no money down or a little money. My first thing would be trying to save up $5,000 or $10,000 and just using that as your seed capital, right? If that's not possible, your other step should be trying to find someone, either a family member or a friend that already is more established, have some savings, and they want to invest in real estate too, but they may not have the time to deal with tenants and repairs. That's where you come in, right? So my school of thought is, if you don't have money, you need to have time, okay? Because that's where the value is going to come in, right? So if you have that time and you're willing to put in the work and deal with tenants, right? Deal with managing a construction crew, then you can find someone that may have those resources, and now y'all can partner up. So let's say you found you a house that you wanted to buy in Florida, right? And you have maybe two friends. One is a doctor, one is a lawyer, right? They have money saved up to where they want to invest. They don't really know what they want to invest in, but also they don't have time to deal with tenants like toilets and termites, right? They don't have time to deal with an apartment complex or a property, right? So that's come and you say, hey, I identified this property in Miami that I'm looking at investing in. Here's the purchase price. It's going to take seed capital of $50,000, $100,000. I have $3,000 saved up. It's not much, but it's everything I have saved up. And I'm putting 100% of that into this deal. Would y'all be interested in coming into this deal? And we split the ownership 33, 33, 33. Or if it's two people, 50, 50. So just really simply, if that property is making $2,000 a month after all of the expenses, y'all will be splitting that profit. You would get $1,000 for managing the property and making sure everything is going right with the tenants, and they would get $1,000 for coming in and investing and being able to purchase the deal. See, so it ain't never really just, hey, how much money you have in your own pocket. It's who do you know that you can partner with? Like case in point, right now we're buying a 40-unit apartment complex. It's a $3.5 million deal. They don't got $3.5 million in the bank, okay? So what I'm doing is I'm putting the money I have saved up and I'm bringing in people so we can collectively purchase the property.
Okay. You talking that bag talk on Watch the Vision show? You talking that bag talk on Watch the Vision show, man? So now I got my first property now. Okay, so now I like real estate investment. I got my first property now. Now I'm thinking of doing the passive investment and trying to gain an apartment complex with about 40, let's say 200 units, right? And now I'm looking for an investment, an investor on the passive side because I don't have that much money. Mm-hmm. How do I know how to divvy out a percentage or just things like that? Because these other companies they are more shark hunters because they're larger. What do they need me for, right? So I just want you to help me understand that, what would they need a passive investor like me for, one, and then how do I know, I guess, how do I know they're not taking advantage of me in terms of the situation or the property in terms of that? So just explain that to me because I wouldn't know what to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'm really old school. When it comes to this topic, I really believe in, how things was done 20, 30, 40 years ago. You usually start with people that you may have known them from a long period of time. You know what type of person they are as far as their core values, and integrity, right? And starting with people like that's doing, these larger investments. That's kind of my school of thought for someone that's just starting. Usually I try to start with people that I know or folks that refer me to people, right? So let's say it may not be that particular person that's invested in apartments, but they know someone, that has done it in the past, but this is a person that has a good reputation. That would make me feel more comfortable than just going out on Google and trying to figure out which company to invest with, right? So it all starts with people that share the same core values as you and trying to reach out to them and ask for referrals. So, that's kind of how I would start with. But if that's not an option or if that's not on the table and you have to go out and reach out to just a large company, I would definitely say start educating yourself about, return metrics. Start understanding, if I invest X amount, what am I going to get? What's my returns, right? Because here's the thing, every company needs seed capital. Every company needs investors. From you saving up $10, $20, $30,000, that's value that you can allocate towards an investment in a company, in a business, stuff like that, right? So that in itself has value. So it's just you as an investor starting to educate yourself about, the risk of each investment, as well as how to, divvy out or understand which companies that you want to invest in, if that makes sense. So that all comes with reading books, listening to podcasts like this one, just educating yourself and getting around like-minded people, and that would be my advice on that for sure.
Okay. My Zoom thing just pop up, and I got my 10 minutes left, and I got so much questions, man. But I got asked a few more of them because I want to. You spitting some good knowledge on here, dog. Like real talk.
Thank
So,
you.
in terms of information now, where could I get just some information just on real estate investment in general? You know what I mean? Like you're saying, like some podcasts and YouTube. I mean, you could plug your YouTube in because that's where I learned like a lot of stuff. But just some other places where we could just read up and learn up on just real estate investing in general.
Yeah. So it's a website called biggerpockets.com. That's a real estate website, that has a lot of information about like investments. So that's Bigger Pockets, BIGER pockets.com. I would definitely say there. And then also going on Amazon, right? So Amazon, and just typing in like real estate investment books. I would say like those are like two really good places to start with.
Okay. And
then my YouTube channel. Plug
in your YouTube. Plug in your YouTube. What's your YouTube channel, man?
Yeah, so it's just my name, Eddie Simonette. So EDDIE Simonette, SYMMONETT. And I have like a ton of free videos on there, where I talk about investment and how I was able to do it as well.
Okay, and I wanted to ask you now, you're in a real estate investment, man, but I really love how you put out content, man. And so I just want to talk about how you got into putting content out and then like just the courage to put content out, man. Because, a lot of people don't have the courage to put content out. People are going to comment on your stuff, so just speak on how you got into putting your content out and speak on just the courage to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's the thing. We living in a technological age right now, and it ain't like how it was like 20, 30 years ago where you don't share what you're doing. It's pivotal and important as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as someone that's trying to promote a service. You have to share what you're doing with people, right? Because if you ain't sharing that, how people are going to know who to reach out to, or how are people going to know how you're going to help them or how they can help you if you're not communicating and letting people know what you do, right? So that's the first school of thought right there. In the day and age we in right now, you can't think about it like bragging or anything. It's just you sharing what you're doing so you can connect with the right people so y'all can help each other, right? So that came, that was the light bulb moment to me, right? I saw like these other companies and other investors that were just promoting. And I said, hey, I need to start telling people what Eddie's doing because I want to help people, and also I help to grow my business. So it's like by sharing that, you get that word out and people start plugging you in, hey, I heard you're doing this. I have so-and-so, they in the States too, and they looking at investing in apartments. That's how I was able to start getting investors, like just me sharing that day to day. And as far as content creation, like it's really, it's a muscle. It's like muscle memory, right? Like it's not overnight. Like at first, when you start making content, you can't expect it to be as polished as someone who's been making content for years. But you have to have that courage to start doing it. Okay, it don't got to be perfect. And I'm big on just transparency. Share the day-to-day stuff. Like if you have a podcast channel, maybe just share a video of, hey, a ring light and like you getting all of this equipment to try to, start getting your podcast up and going. If it's real estate, share, hey, I'm reading this new book about real estate, that I have, to try to educate myself. I'm trying to purchase a property in the next 6 months. It's all about just sharing starting to share your journey like through a story. Like you have to think about it like storytelling. That's really what social media is. You're storytelling your business and the journey to where you're trying to go. And your audience, they're along for the ride, right? So if you posting like this boring stuff, you're gonna lose your audience, right? You gotta keep
it fresh.
You gotta keep it fresh, and you also gotta keep it 100. Like you gotta, be transparent because everyone is getting ads nowadays, right? Like from we wake up, we get ads coming to us, whether it be on social media or when we driving past billboards or listening to the radio, everyone is getting the ads. So when you dare to be different, right? And start sharing like quality content of like, almost like this transparent thing, like, hey, this is what a day in the life looks like. People enjoy that type of content, right? So that would be my advice. Like just have courage to your journey. Don't be afraid to share like the highs and the lows. understanding that we in a technological age right now, and it's pertinent for us to utilize social media, especially since it's free, and
It's free.
and then try to engage that audience, with things that's coming from the heart, like, what I'm saying, and also like things that, ain't just straight advertising. It's like, hey, a day in the life type stuff. I think that's the best type of content.
All right, man. That's a good little clip right there. I might have to chop that up and send that on my TikTok. The inspirational quotes. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, man. But we running out of time. So I got one more question for you. I have a lot, but this is the one I want to really get off, man. So now you're in Alabama now. So we from the Bahamas, boy. So do you have any plans to expand in the Bahamas, or is there any way that Bahamian citizens could reach out to you and so they could get your expertise inside this area so you can help them out inside the Bahamas?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Some of the creative concepts I've learned in the States, you could still implement those same strategies back home, right? So for instance, the strategy we talked about where we were like, okay, if I don't have any money saved up, but I know a couple people that have capital and we can go buy a property, you can do that in the Bahamas.
Yeah, let's do that.
You get what I'm saying? Find some people, that have that capital saved up and say, hey, I know you busy, you work at PMH, or, you work at this law firm, and you may not have the time to deal with tenants day in and day out, but I do. Okay. Let's find a property, I'll manage the construction. I'll deal with all the tenant relations. And at the end of the month, when we have our profit, we'll just split that, right? And then y'all could determine what that split needs to look like, right? So you could use these same type of creative, like, investing strategies back home. All that is reaching out to people that and coming together and purchasing a property together, and then also creating the structures. So whether y'all making a partnership or a corporation, just understanding what that needs to look like on that level. And you can always reach out to like an attorney to try to figure out what that needs to look like, right? Like a business attorney that handles the creation of like companies and stuff like that. So, but yeah, and then also like people back home can invest in like deals in the States as well. So like all of our investments that we're doing right now, it is open to foreign investors as well. So if it's someone that maybe just wanted to understand how that works, definitely we'll have a place where we can put my contact information in. But you could just use my email, which is eSymonette@gmail.com. So ESYMMONETT@gmail.com. And you can reach out to me there, and I'll be able to walk you through that.
I had no idea you could do that. So even like if I have an uncle back in Nassau who got a couple of G's that say, man, Eddie, I need to do something with this, they can reach out to you and we could work something out in Alabama.
Yeah, absolutely. So like case in point, like when I'm looking to bring in investors, I like to do things, professionally. So like I have a webinar presentation where we outline, why we're investing in Alabama, why this particular asset, what we like about the area, what our business plan is. So usually when I have offerings, I give people the opportunity to come and educate themselves, so they make sure that this is a right investment for them, right? Yeah, I'm big on education, right? So yeah, that's what it's all about first, and then seeing from there if it's a good fit.